Let's call the meeting to order at 4:01.
Mhm.
And we'll simply say, welcome, everybody. This is the January 23rd Zoom meeting of the Permanent Memorial Subcommittee of the Concord250th Executive Committee. And we'll perform a roll call now of those who are here. Tui Rogers here. Joe Palumbo.
Here.
Kate James.
Here.
Polly Reeve.
Here.
Okay, and we have Terry Ackerman in the peanut gallery.
Correct.
All right, hello. So we will hope that Nancy and Krista can show up at some point, but let's get the meeting started. We have a roll call. The first,
And
yes.
and
Polly?
is Joe Palumbo also not expect? I mean, Joe Hibbard not expected today?
Well,
You know-
last week he said he was ill, and I
Yeah.
I said, when you feel better, let us know. And
Oh,
I
here's
haven't heard from
Nancy.
him, so he might still be out.
I haven't heard. Yeah, so that's a excellent. Thank you for reminding me. Is Nancy here now?
Yes, I see her.
Okay.
Here I am.
Okay. Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
Are you present?
I am present.
All right. Excellent. Okay, that means we definitely have a quorum.
In
And
body, maybe not in mind. I have to get out of the sun.
so that means that Joe, who was sick last week, and Krista, who may or may not be able to get back from her other commitment. So the first order of business is to approve the minutes that Polly wrote. I hope everyone had a chance to look at those. Does anyone have any edits or comments?
I received one proposed amendment, which I can read to you all if you can, if that's okay. This would
Okay.
be- Whoops, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Forgive me. Sorry. Bear with me. One sec. In hang on, darn it. Here we go. Under item number 6, talking the second sentence about Nancy's question, after the words warrant for the 2025 town meeting, to add related to seeking support for the statement of purpose, period. Since today this was not suggested as a potential activity by this group, Joe Palumbo indicated that we wouldn't pursue this unless this is an activity suggested by the subcommittee in the future.
Okay. All right.
So I would propose that we modify it that way.
Okay.
Or propose that way, and we can vote on them.
Any problems with that? Do we need to vote on that, do you think?
No, you
I
can
think
just
we need
vote
to
on the
vote on
whole
whether we want to
minutes.
approve them.
I don't
as
understand what the change is. What is the change? I don't get the change. Sorry.
Sure. I just wanted to be clear to people that that is not an activity. A warrant is not an activity being pursued by this committee, and the only way for it to happen would be this committee publicly would have to agree and do it. That's just good to put it in writing so everyone sees.
Okay.
You asked a good question last time, so we just want to be super clear, I think.
All right. Okay, so everyone's good with that? I don't think we need to vote on a change to the minutes.
No,
or
you just vote on the minutes as a whole.
Yeah. Okay, so all in favor of the minutes as they stand?
As amended, yes, please.
As amended, thank you. Aye. Okay.
We should probably do roll call.
All right, that's right, Zoom. So Tui says aye. Nancy, I'm just looking at the boxes. Nancy?
Aye.
Okay, Joe?
Aye.
And Polly Reeve?
Aye.
And Kate James, who disappeared. Oh, there.
Aye.
Who's there?
Okay. Unanimous approval of the minutes. We can move on to checking in. Are there any issues of checking in that need or want to be mentioned? Things heard this week?
I've got just a couple, just to reinforce in case you hear or anyone asks about on the calendar of activities for April 19th. we discussed it last time, there remains a placeholder at 2 p.m. that says Permanent Memorial Committee. And remember, in case anyone asks you, that is currently just a placeholder in case we, through our identifying activities, we decide, oh, we want to do an activity, we want someone to give a talk, or we want to do an art table, or we want to do, that's all that is. So in case someone's worried that we're going to roll out a hidden memorial and unveil it on the 2 p.m. that day, it's not happening. That's all it is.
That's a great idea.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what and then and we just said there's no plan for a town warrant. So I've heard that said. So just reminding people we're not putting anything on the town meeting unless we decide that's some later date. And then the third one, I think it's worth answering. Last time we had a public comment question about how the Sasaki design firm was selected. And I know Nancy suggested some possible answers, and we sort of came down to like, hey, we have to talk to Gary to get the specific answer. So that was my task in the last week. So just for the record, basically, if you have to think back to April of 23, Gary was the chair of the committee, felt like we had time was of the essence to help this committee get organized to execute, and didn't think we had the bandwidth within this. So he talked to the town manager about identifying some consulting help for us. And I believe like maybe in the May 23rd or 20 something minutes, we sort of, the committee at that time discuss and articulate, yeah, we need help for a consulting firm. So Gary worked with the town manager and sort of out of the normal procurement channels, and it was vetted by town legal. And that's how they identified, because of an existing relationship and knowledge of the experience of Sasaki and other communities, they identified that as the vendor, and then they were approved. And I think we began work in July of 23 or June of 23. So that's kind of how it happened.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions?
All right. Is there? All right. Any other checking in comments or thoughts? All right, then let's move on to, I think we had 4 priority plans. I hope you can't hear that. I'm getting a message on my phone. Okay.
Oh, you sound fine.
We had 4, I think, primary initiatives that we thought were worth pursuing. And I wondered, Joe, if you wanted to sort of walk us through that. I think the first one is, I think we've accomplished.
So if you remember last week, we brainstormed and then focused out of the 3 key priorities of the communication engagement plan: raising awareness, engaging the community, fostering broad-based support. We came up with, I don't know, 12 maybe-ish possible activities. And then we narrowed to 4 to get started on. And those are the ones that we sort of had some tasks from last week to this week. And they were letter A, dealing with the 38 high school students, letter E, amending the statement of purpose, letter F, talking about putting together a little presentation that we could start sharing within the community, and letter D, sponsoring a presentation of Nancy's work on monuments in a setting. So everyone had work to do around those 4, or at least more thinking about it. And today we're going back to them. I'd like to suggest we start with the amendment of the statement of purpose, because that's like the easiest one. Because I know Polly and Tui did some work on the language on that sentence. Do you want to suggest?
Read our
talk about what you did, Polly?
amendment?
Yeah.
To do that. Okay, so if you so our statement of purpose is 3 paragraphs. This proposed change would go in the middle paragraph in the second sentence, which would read, featuring stories and quotations of individuals and groups with connections to Concord, including women, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, as well as the names of soldiers who lost their lives in the American Revolution, or hyphen. It will be a welcoming place for contemplation and gathering in the heart of the town. And that last bit is
what was the change? What did
so
you
the new
add?
change is adding these words, as well as the names of soldiers who lost their lives in the American Revolution.
Got it.
Did we talk to the group who wanted to make a monument out of those names? And
We,
ask
well, we
them if
did,
we can include that in our statement of purpose?
yeah, what we talked about the last meeting, Kate, was that we sort of discussed amongst ourselves, and people correct me if you remember, that they fit our vision of
Yes, they do.
people
Uh-huh.
who are not been forgotten. So
Mhm.
as we're the Public Memorial Committee of the Select Board, of the 250 of the Select Board, we felt it was appropriate they should be added.
Mhm.
And then we thought we should actually add the language. And so
Okay.
Tui and Polly were tasked to come up with language, and now we're deciding, do we really want to do
Okay.
it? Sorry.
Okay, so I'm assuming they are not pursuing their own monument anymore?
We don't know.
You don't know. Okay, that's
That-
my question.
I mean, I don't, yeah,
As far as this committee, no. I mean, yeah, I have a rumor,
We just
but
don't
as
know.
far as
Okay.
they haven't come to us and said they are, as far as we know.
They're,
I
they're
don't
not
really
under,
know who they is, so
Right.
I don't know who they
Well, they've
is.
been in the surrounding chairs at our meetings.
Well, I know
some
Beth,
people.
Beth Van Duzer has done a lot of this work, I
Mhm.
think. And so she knows that we're planning to include this language in our statement of
Great.
purpose. So,
Okay,
I mean,
good.
that's my my belief.
Kate, Kate,
So-
are you talking about the other group trying to plan a monument, or are you talking about the Historic Districts Commission and people who have been in our meetings? Because there is that other private 250.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is
but
that-
I guess I'm
yeah,
not
that's-
aware of any delineation. I was
No.
putting them all in one pot.
No, there's
Right.
that
Right.
group is separate and it's private. So we're the official body designated by the town to
Oh,
create a
okay.
permanent memorial. And we thought, since this was a significant thing, we put it in to include the names. And
Okay, so they're still working on it as well.
we don't know.
know.
Okay. All
If
right.
you find out, please.
Oh, sure. I'll ask. Okay. I'll ask. If I knew who they were, I would ask.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I think the language is good. It's simple, to the point, adds it right in, makes it very clear for people who really want to see this happen. I think it strengthens the statement of purpose. That's my opinion.
Mhm.
Anyone else has thoughts on it? Because if not, we can vote. But
Okay.
I move that we accept the language that Polly and Tui created to add to the statement of purpose.
I second.
Second. Mhm.
All right. All in favor, and I will go first. Tui, aye. Kate,
Yes, I.
Joe Palumbo,
Yes, aye.
Polly Reeve,
I,
and Nancy Frizella Lee.
I,
Okay, so it's unanimous to add that change into the mission statement.
All right.
Great.
Well, our first priority activity completed.
Yay, team.
I knew that was low hanging fruit, though.
Yeah, well, that's what we started.
That's the easy one. So I like
That's
that.
where you
no.
always want to start, right?
Letter A was, I'll read it out loud, and then invite the 38 high school students who submitted essays to the Concord250 essay contest to participate in a youth focus group on the permanent memorial. Consider extending beyond the essayists. Could they become ambassadors to make other students more attend? But our next step was really for all of us to read the 5 winning essays in preparation for further discussion. So that's what today's discussion is. And Polly, you sort of had brought this idea forward. Do you want to start the discussion, or anyone?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hope everybody had a chance to read those 5 winning essays. When I read them, I was just, well, first of all, thought it was just hopeful, which I need a little hopefulness these days, and so it made me really glad to read them. But I also felt that they resonated. So much of the feeling and the sort of purpose behind them aligns with so much of what we've been talking about. And so it just, I felt we haven't, we look around the table, we don't have a lot of youth coming to our meetings and expressing their feelings. And so I thought it would be great to find a way to tap in to that community and to hear from them, what do they, when we talk about honoring the past, acknowledging where we are right now at the time of this anniversary and looking to the future, what are some things that could be reflected, what would they love to see here? What, when they're 75 years old and they walk down the street, what would they like to see in that spot? So that's where it came from. But then last week's meeting, we talked about going beyond. So I suggested that we start with the 38 people who submitted essays, because clearly they're thinking about the 250th and what it means to be Concord. And, they've done some thinking about this. And the suggestion was made that we extend beyond that, invite them to bring friends and invite them, which is totally great. But anyway, so we thought we would just talk a little more about
Yeah. Let's talk about what we got out of the essays at first, I think, before we get into logistics. Like, what did the essays, what did they mean to you? How they impact what we've been talking about? What do you think?
Well, I just couldn't help but notice in each one of them that these young people really were embracing a future that was different from what they saw in Concord. The goal of the essays, and I think you all have read them, so is to describe Concord in 2075, 50 for the next 50 years anniversary. And they were embracing a very different Concord that was up with the times. One was all about AI, in fact, and how that might change things. But at the same time, being able to hold on to the vibrant history of Concord. And they had a freeness of looking at that and making those connections between the past and the future that I just found refreshing. And I think that sometimes we and the people in our meetings, it gets fuzzy. That gets fuzzy. There's the desire to hold on to what we've got and not let that go. And there's also, in some cases, the desire to let it all go and move forward. But all of them were very thoughtful about embracing the future and remembering the past. And I thought it was just lovely. I've been sending it around to my friends and family and the Right Tavern website, and wishing that they had been involved with all of us 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
It's not too late.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're doing it now.
I agree with you, Tui. And I also, I thought that they touched on things that we've started to touch on in meetings about how does what we do now, how does that impact the future, and how can we draw on the positive revolutionary elements of Concord and talk about how our past and our present and our future and how they're all aligned. And that's a tall order for a small plot of land. But it certainly, what I liked was it sort of opened my own thinking up as well about the possibilities. But it also made me realize, you can only reflect, you only can be who you are and reflect what is present. So it's hard to know what is the future. And I don't know if we can really, if what we do has any real impact on.
Yeah. Can I read something from the end of one of them? Because their words, they're good writers.
Yeah, the Concord Academy one brought me to tears. I was really touched by it. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that, I don't know if that was Madeline Clancy, but
maybe it was number 3 or 4, I forget. But
so
yeah, I read them a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but here's a statement I think that really made me feel this is what we're trying to do too. The changes I have learned about and seen in Concord and nationally have helped me understand the necessity to enact change and preserve history. By valuing both, Concord will set an example for the rest of the United States for the next 50 years and beyond. Have we not been, throughout this country's history, opposing beliefs have torn us down, but they have also spurred collaboration and progress. As it seems like political division clouds the skies of our country, Concord will be the light to clear them. I mean, that's incredibly hopeful. But I think that notion that what we do matters, it's not just about Concord. It really is beyond. And I think, boy, is that so highlighted by our politics today, that it's important that towns like Concord continue to try to lead in difficult times. And these kids were all saying that. And I thought she said it particularly well. Not to mention, each and every one of them stressed the importance of a diverse community, of
Mhm.
making Concord more diverse than it is, of opening Concord up and accepting our arms wide. And that
Yeah.
other thing
Those
we
parts about making housing affordable that was amazing. I was really, that touched me. That was great. Hmm.
Nancy, what do you think?
Well, I agree with everything everyone said. They were lovely essays and full of optimism, and
Hmm.
yeah, they're beautiful.
So how do we engage these writers, student writers and thinkers, and, to help make our plans stronger? And
So
Well,
that begs the question, what does their writing have to do with what we're doing? I'd like somebody to,
well, I
mean,
think, I mean, because they're talking about this is in my head. They're talking about what Concord will look like in the next 50 years.
mhm,
And what they ended up, at least what I read, there's this hopefulness about um, both honoring the past and thinking about the future. And there's a lot of talk about understanding the welcomeness and diversity that's just natural to someone who's 18 years old, I think, for
mhm,
these art kids.
mhm.
I think it's asking them, like, just like a focus group, and maybe just start with the winners, um, to say, look, we've been working on this project. We're starting to think about, you guys wrote some stuff that was really, we've appreciated a lot. What insight do you have? What advice do you have about like what we're thinking of? Like, what should it be? Where should it be? Should it exist? Get some feedback from them, because we've never really talked to them about it. To me, that's the start, like getting
So
like a
Joe,
focus group with these kids.
are you going to show them what we have and ask them to think about it? Or are you going to say,
No,
what would you do?
I
Clean
think we
slate.
maybe, I think
Okay.
give them maybe the statement of purpose and have them react to it.
Mhm.
And then
Okay.
get some, I don't know, it has to be, I don't know. I'm just saying we need to get their voices in on the process. But I don't
Mhm.
think we should be showing them a design or anything yet. I think it's
Right.
just,
I think that
that's
for
just
me,
what I think.
given what we're doing with this, really this communication plan, this every week, what we're doing right now to really assess, is Concord, is our mission statement valid? Is this in fact what the town wants? I mean, I think we stepped back and said, if our mission statement really is not what the town wants, then we don't there's nothing, no point in going
Yeah.
forward.
Our plan says three things: raise awareness, engage the community. So to me, that's what we're doing, those students, raising their awareness that we've been working on this and engaging them to get some feedback. Like, are we even on the right track here from your perspective as an 18-year-old who's
Right. And I mean, I do see this as a two-pronged thing. The thing that we're doing, which is raising awareness, and boy, have we been trying to get the students on board, or input from the students, et cetera. And the
And
other
this
thing,
would just be one group, right? That's one group we go to. Then we do
right,
something maybe for young families, and then we do something for seniors, and then we
yeah,
do something for people I mean, there's a lot of groups we have to go through.
this is a start,
Yeah.
but it's also an excellent way. I don't know how many people have read these essays. As I say, I've been sending them all around. I
Mhm.
think I think the town would I think all of us would benefit from seeing what the young people in town are doing. That's a
Have they been published in the paper? Will they be published in the paper?
I
I
think
don't know.
there's
I
a
think the
hope.
only place they live right now is on this Right Tavern website. They had a
Hmm.
ceremony, they had an award ceremony, they were given a proclamation by the senator,
Mhm.
and things like that. So the students have been honored.
Mhm.
I like that you brought this up, because I think that is something that we could add to our contribution for the 250th. I think it would be very easy to publish them. I'm a bookbinder. I could come up with some kind of fun design that wouldn't be expensive, but we could, decide the end edition. We could even hand bind them. It's not that many pages.
Oh, I'd love to learn how to book my
You're
books.
right, I have a full bindery in my house, and so I love that idea as just another thing that we add to our commission, because I think you're right, things contests like this, or, there are lots going on in town and it's going to be lost in the
Yeah.
sauce, right? And so I think that would be lovely to have them available in the bookshop, in the Barrows bookshop in town, all over the place, and say these are, make it really fun. We could even get, someone to design the cover, an art student.
Yeah.
So I'd definitely be up for that. I could volunteer
I
to do that.
love that idea. And I also don't want to lose sight of I mean, so when you, Kate and Nancy, I think both of you were saying, well, what does this have to do with our work? And what struck me is that I think it has a lot to do with our work because it relates to what we're trying to make tangible through in this place reflects, sorry, my dog is scratching, reflects the same kind of aspirations as these young people have expressed in these essays, I think. And they don't say, we're going to build a memorial and it's going to have this. I mean, it's not that well aligned, but I feel like the mission of
The
our
heart, yeah.
project
Mhm.
and their sort of purpose in writing their essays are really, they dovetail beautifully together. Hang on, I gotta look at the dog again. Anyway, so, and I love the idea of making these, I think these should have the biggest audience, be neat if they were around for all our 100,000 visitors who appear for a parade and, know that we're doing more than just have, not that the parade is not a big deal, it is a big deal, but, that there's
Yeah,
other
'cause
stuff.
they could easily be, I'm sorry, well lit and recorded. Like that could be part of, Minuteman would do that in a heartbeat. So these are all, it could exist on video as well. So they're preserved as part of this memorialization of their work. It's another thing.
You mean we would tape them reading their essays?
Or we
Is
could
that-
help facilitate it. We wouldn't have to do it,
Mhm.
but I don't know. Those essays should be read on camera.
Yeah, that's what I was,
I
yeah.
know
Mhm.
when they're 50, when they're 68, they might want to see.
I like that.
Both of them referred to that,
yeah,
right? Coming back to
Yeah.
the library and
they
looking
did.
at the archives.
When she was
That I loved
68.
it. Mm.
Um, boy, or having the bound book of them available at the visitor
Yeah.
center for
Yeah.
the big day. Anyway,
Yeah.
this is moving up the list in priorities.
I also like the fact that the soldiers who fought in the Revolutionary War, many of them were that age, were
Mhm.
the age of these students.
Mhm.
And that made me think about that time, trying to put these kids in those shoes is so, it's touching to me to think that they were, felt so strongly that they decided to risk their life for this type of liberty and freedom. I think if I was that age, I'd go, you know what? I can relate to this. These are
Mhm.
This makes me
These-
think there's room for a good introduction to this book of essays. You're fleshing it out somehow, because that's very true. It's very true. They were the same age.
Mhm. It makes
Oh.
me think of the Minuteman, and he's a young man, who's yeah.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Even, yeah. One of the first of the two men that were killed in Acton. I mean, the two Acton men that were killed at the bridge. One of them, I think, was 18.
No.
Yeah, Abner Hosmer.
Yeah.
The second one, not
Yeah.
not Isaac Davis is the other one.
Yeah. To just think that those times, created these farmers who wanted to risk their lives. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So going back to
Hmm.
get these talking to these students, what might be a way do we want to start with this as like I don't know, start with just them? Do we want to just get them on a Zoom?
I feel like they would need a little context of
Yeah.
what we've been doing for the last 2-3 years, whatever it's been. And it occurs to me that, going back to the very beginning, that video, Beyond Granite, that we showed to our first public
Yeah.
audience,
Mhm.
is a very, that had a real impact on the direction that we went, I think. And I think I think just like having them come into a vacuum and just start talking at them would be kind of like, well, what are these people talking? It'd be hard to understand what we're up to here. So I would propose that maybe having having that included in whatever we do to kind of set the stage so that we can, I mean, I think they're going to need some background in order to, if we want it, I think it could end up getting very abstract and we could have a great conversation about ideas and diversity but not ever like actually have it inform what we're doing on this
Yeah.
site, which is what we're trying to do, I think, right?
Yeah.
An idea, it's only 5 kids, if we wrote them a letter and I could write the letter and say, our committee read your essays and we really love them, and I'm a bookbinder and, your essays are not very long. So we like them so much that we would like to have them more widely available. And are you willing to have a meeting with me and somebody else could be with me? And so we could start it with hook them in with that idea and just keep it really simple and say, okay, come and meet. Are you willing to do that? Are you excited about doing that? And then if I show them some examples of really simple structures, but really fun, I think they'd like it because you can have pockets and folding things. And so I don't want it to make it complicated. I want it to be easy to make. And so if they get excited about that, and then we tell them where we're coming from at that meeting, not in a letter, but just tell them and say, we're still talking about what is going to be on this parcel. And would you want to, participate further in discussions?
Is the Right Tavern actually the owners of these
No, they were
essays?
what my understanding from the community,
Mhm.
there's a community engagement subcommittee like us. They're the ones who did these essays.
Yeah.
They tried to get them put on the town website. I guess they had some difficulty in logistics. And the Right Tavern said, we can do it like that. And so that's why they ended up there. So there's no proprietary. Right Tavern's
Okay.
just doing the committee a favor.
Is
Do
that
we need to
Holly?
go
So we
through
don't
that?
have to
Yeah,
ask.
Holly
Okay.
Crassley. Yeah.
Do we need to
Okay.
go through the committee to like say we we were so inspired, we would love to do this. We think we happen to have a bookbinder in our midst.
I'm
Yeah.
a good friend of Holly's.
Well,
Yeah.
so that it
She does
feels
my
like we should.
boundary. She's designed
Yeah.
my house.
I
So
think
would
we
love
have to
her
be polite
likes-
and ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see if she
Okay.
likes the idea.
That's
Mhm.
great. I mean, I think
Okay.
that's a wonderful
So I'll
first
reach
step.
out to Holly.
Okay.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
so short, maybe you could get a few other students to illustrate it.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Let's start with them, see if they know each other. When you get together, then you see the group and see if because one student's person is from Concord Academy. So, and just see and get them
Yeah.
excited. And, okay, we'd like to have an illustration. You'd each have like a pocket and see how it develops from there.
Great idea.
Bring food.
And I know if you end up needing a venue, I'm sure Right Tavern would,
Yeah.
they'd do it very easily.
Okay. I'll start with Holly and then
Yeah.
you have to get the
Sounds good.
kid addresses
Yeah.
and
I think it's smart, Nancy, because it's like the way you're approaching it. It's like building relationship with them.
yeah.
And then once you have a
Yeah.
relationship, then you can go more deeply into the other stuff.
So, kids, you don't know, they're so busy, they're all in sports
Yeah.
and you don't have time. So see, they'll,
Yeah.
why wouldn't they want their little articles to be published? That would be exciting for them, right?
Yeah.
And then to say,
Yeah.
we're going to have these available on April 19th. And, that could be even a pop-up idea on, the land. We could have a little tent and they could there and give them out.
And there's a time capsule quality to all of it too,
Yeah.
of
Which-
how this is what these kids said at this time and about later, do you bury it and unearth it later? There's all those kind of
Maybe.
interesting.
And that connects back to what we talked about early on, Kate, before you got onto the committee, the
Mhm.
time capsule aspect to a
Mhm.
permanent memorial. What we put up will 50 years from now be looked at, as we look at the obelisks and say, that was typical of that era. And
Mhm.
we maybe don't want to say typical, but we want to put something up that's significant.
Yeah,
Mhm.
whatever we end up doing it's going to be reflective of the time we're in. So we can't,
Yeah.
even if we
We can't
tried, we
help
couldn't
it.
help it.
Right. It's the way it is.
Someone's going to look at our stuff 50 years and 100 years and it'll
Good.
reflect time.
Yeah, that's fine. Be critical. Go for it. Yeah.
Smart. So you're doing better. I just hope they're
Mhm.
doing better. That's all I hope.
I just
That's
have
right.
Nancy, one logistical question. Would it be feasible to print a couple hundred copies or
Absolutely.
by, yeah.
I've done this, and because it's not many pages. So I'd have to see, I mean, how many pages do you think? Each one was only 2 pages,
2
right?
pages.
They had a word limit.
Well,
I was pretty sure.
the simplest book is when you just fold, like 5 sheets together and have
Right.
one stitching. You can sit around and have a party and do that really quickly and have, make 100. You can print that out at Staples, 100 with good quality printing, and then do the folding and the sewing.
So the
simply.
answer is yes.
And I'm not saying this is a good idea, but an idea is to have them read their essays on a platform on the property on
Yeah.
that April 19th time.
That would
you
be
know.
lovely.
Good idea.
Ah.
Good idea.
Yeah, because it's nice to have like a nice living sculpture reading the words. That I think that would be lovely.
This is,
We've
look,
got the
look what
space for
happened.
it.
Yeah.
There's space for it. Yeah.
And
Bring
look
your
what
own
happened.
chair.
Yeah.
This idea started as just doing something with those students. I love what has happened to this simple number A idea.
Okay.
So
That's good.
sounds like then the next steps for Nancy is going to do a bunch of little things between now and the
Yeah,
next
I'll write to
meeting.
Holly first, I'll call her and see what she thinks. Then I'll get the addresses of the kids, write them a simple letter. Do you have time to meet with me? We'll try to do it really soon.
Yeah.
And, if one of you want to come with me, I'll just keep you all posted. So I'm just going to do that. That's my 2 steps. Call
Perfect.
your addresses.
Fantastic. I love that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love that.
And I can
And I just want
print-
to say, sorry. go
And I
ahead.
can print out the essays and figure out, how many pages it would be.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
all.
right.
Awesome.
And I just want to make sure that we keep in mind that it would be really great to get their brains around the challenges that we're dealing with. Them and their friends or whatever. But
That's in
thought.
addition. Yeah, that's
don't
the
wanna-
ultimate purpose. In addition to doing the good thing.
right. But I love having this other project because I think it's worth it. I think it's a great
Yeah, absolutely.
project.
On its own, stand its own. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Next.
Want to work? Can we leave A for a while? Is that good for this week for A? Do you want to
And
talk about?
don't forget that performance art is considered sculpture. So there you go.
Well, I was just having lunch with people and someone was telling me about her brother who's a musician and he does sound portraits of people,
Mm-hmm.
interviews people, and then they make a sound portrait. So you could almost have a musician responding to as they're reading.
There you go.
Yeah, I think you should really be, as this goes on, be thinking about how to use that space that day and come up with something cool. That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're looking for activities. for
You
that.
know, I'm all for having big tents where people can get under if it's raining. So
Yeah. Now, did
space
you,
lends itself to tents.
I don't know if any of you went to or saw the video of the Friday meeting of the Chamber of Commerce on the 250. Everybody was somewhere. I don't know where they actually did this. I actually watched it this morning, and they are looking for some activities on that space. And there are some other groups. I think the Scout House person was saying,
There's like 5 venues that they're looking to fill at the Masonic Temple, Masonic Lodge, 51 Walden, our space, Scout House has got a program going on. So yeah, they're trying to encourage people.
For that day, you mean, the April 19th?
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah,
this,
there's time
Think
between
of
the
it,
parade and the drone show.
yeah, and then
Needs.
think of it like a very simple first night type of thing. Like I could go to
Yeah.
this or I could go to that. All
Mhm.
I
free.
mean, to be fair, I like the idea of doing this at 51 Walden because it's a warm space. And people can, put their coat somewhere and then go in and sit down. And also, 51 Walden was another,
It was a permanent memorial for 75. Right?
so you could say that as a context. And I wanted to point that out that, the Permanent Memorial Commission committees it's not always been a physical monument. They've done other things. So this lends itself to just another element, something.
And since you work at the Concord Museum, I don't know.
A paper monument.
Well, they also they did the 51 Walden and they did a quilt for the bicentennial. and it hung
Yeah.
in 51 Walden, and David said it's in the archives of the Concord Museum. Now, I
Oh,
probably can't take it out, but I know you have, sometimes you're in there. If someone can at least get a good picture of it,
you
then
think
we
the
could
Concord
use
Museum
it.
has that?
What's
I'll ask.
that?
Do you think
Yeah,
that, I'll ask them.
because I asked 51 Walden and
can-
they didn't know
we
about
can
it. And then I
borrow it.
talked to David and he's like, yeah, it's in our
Is
stuff.
it going to be
Okay,
part of the quilt show?
No, I mentioned it to Holly, but I think it's just a lot for them to, they have a hard, I mean, she's busy enough trying to get the quilt show. I don't know if she's been able to figure out how to get a
ask her
picture.
about it.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool because it's a
Yeah.
nice connection to 50 years ago. And it's a their permanent memorial
Never been-
monument.
I don't think I've seen pictures of it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a
Hmm.
picture. I mean, I saw it when it used to hang.
I'll check on that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so we're off and running. Do you want to work? We've got about 20 minutes left. Do you want to talk about D, which would be Nancy's talk, or F, the early getting work on the kind of a presentation roadshow thing?
I think Polly and I haven't really talked about that yet, although Polly, I think we might in the next few days have a chance to talk about that.
We can.
Well, you know, we could maybe spend a few minutes if we just rattle off for you, brainstorm, like what are some things that would be good in this, as long as you get us here. The idea is, I think, some kind of simple, easy to modify presentation that people could use to learn more about this process as we work at trying to engage and get feedback. And it'd be something you could use with the senior center, you could use with the student group, you could, modified, you could use at select board, you could use, Kate could give it if she wanted to some of her colleagues, and there's something that's pretty, like, you can use in a lot of settings. That's what I think which you talked about last time.
Mhm.
And I would propose that I think we've got actually a lot of good material. I think the hard part is going to be editing. I think it's so, I've mentioned the Beyond Granite video, but
Yeah,
I
I
also
would second you.
talking
That
about
video
the
should be in it.
site, but I think connecting it to the site, because that has been
Yeah.
part of the thinking right from the very beginning. And then there's some really, I think, really helpful summaries of the site analysis that looks at the context, like what's in that, so what's the vegetation like, what's the hardscape like, what's the traffic like, all of that, just a quick, but to show that we've thought about that as we've been trying to develop a concept that for what this space could become. And then some of the circulation graphics that we're looking at, where people could go. Do you take them deep into the property? Do you keep it out towards the street? Do you have it, is it circular? Is it, whatever? And I just think we'll have to look at all those, because it's been like literally 18 months or something like that since we did, maybe more. But I think there should be some of that in there. But I don't think it should be long. It shouldn't be 35 slides. I think it should be quick. So
Yeah.
that was-
I started going over, Polly, some of the stuff that Sasaki had put together, because they actually did sort of like a mini elevation and a whole bunch of
Oh, they did. Yeah.
views of, I mean, we learned so much from them
Mhm.
during that whole process. It was exactly what we needed, just like, I'm sure, Nancy, that you guys learned a lot from the historic preservation plan that Heritage Strategies has been doing to help orient. I went to that meeting to help orient kind of, how do you even take apart historical preservation in Concord? How do you take apart and put together a monument in a town? And we didn't know anything. So I started looking at some of that stuff, and I think it would be great to sort of go over that with you, Polly. And I think in a week or two, we will probably have a better idea of that. But it is true. If anybody else has some thoughts that since you won't be with Polly and me when we're thinking about this, relate to this.
My only thoughts would be video, because people need that kind of stimulation. Make sure there's not too much, not too heavy text. There's a lot of, visuals.
Yeah.
And they understand a little bit of the why this is important and why we've even been working on this, and then plenty of room for them to give feedback and advice. Those are my thoughts.
And I feel like I'd love to attend this because I'm such a newcomer to this committee. So
Well, you can
I-
join us and learn a lot as we put it all together.
Right. We need
You
artists.
can help them
I was
build it.
thinking, how would I help you do it? I don't know. I don't know.
But you can
what the
schedule
answer-
like the historical commission is doing this right now. We have working study times where, you know, if you publish that you're going to get together, then, you know, it's no one else is probably going to show up, but they could if they wanted to. But then you could meet with them and it wouldn't be violating town
I mean,
open
to
law.
work on this project, on this presentation, we
Yeah,
can like,
Yeah,
it's
three
been-
of you,
like a
schedule
working
it.
session.
yeah, any three of you, us can get together.
Well,
Yeah.
or can we post
Then
it? and have
anybody could, well, then anybody could go,
Yeah.
but
But I mean,
Yeah.
if we're not running a quorum, if we're
we don't
not
have to worry about Kate. Yeah, right.
Any three of us on the committee could get
Yeah.
together.
Oh,
Any
without
number of
posting
other
it. And if we
people.
wanted to have an opportunity for everybody to come, you know, whatever. Okay, well, we can talk about how we might organize
Right.
that.
Okay.
Right.
And
Awesome.
maybe, I think just even doing kind of a sketch, you know, as soon as we can, so without necessarily the
Yeah.
graphics developed.
Yeah,
but-
just like a flow, maybe a really simple flow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
okay,
right.
Tui, we got our work cut out for us.
All right, gangbusters. Okay.
We
yeah,
have 12 minutes left. Nancy, do you want to talk at all about the
I don't want to today. I've been
next meeting?
and
I know you
haven't
had
been-
company and
I have
stuff.
not thought about it this at all.
Well, next time. We'll check in next time.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go to public comment, Kate, you weren't here last time and you didn't get a chance to add any activities to the list. Is there anything that you wanted to add or wanted to talk about that when we brainstorm the list of possible activities to help either raise awareness, engage the community, or foster support for what we're doing?
go for
You
it,
know,
Kate.
No, I think you really hit on everything. I like, you know, the dog and pony show is good. And I do love the idea of publicizing the words of those students. I thought that's a great idea. I mean, publishing them.
Yep.
You know, I think I told Tui, my perspective is very different from everybody else's because I'm in visual arts. And so when I was asked to be on the Permanent Memorial Sculpture Committee, I thought it was a sculpture.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any sculptures since I've been on the committee. So I think we either need to rename the committee.
Sculpture's not in our term. Word sculpture.
Oh, why is
Where you
it
got
called
that from?
PMS? Is it called
Permanent
PMS?
Memorial Subcommittee.
Oh, subcommittee. I'm sorry. I really misunderstood.
Good clarity
Maybe I
check
should
there.
go
Yeah.
now.
Good, yeah. It's-
Okay.
Never mind.
Never mind.
But Kate, continue
yeah.
with what you had talked to me about because I thought that was
I
interesting.
did because that's how I think is, you know, we have a sculpture in of Daniel Chester French did of the Minuteman. And I was imagining this as being more of a competition with well-known sculptors that I could contact because I know a lot of them and ask them for just ideas, you know, give them all the information and say, hey, you're an artist. This is what you do. Go for it. And not like say, you have to do this, this, or
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
You are able to evoke through your artwork what we're looking for. And so I started going down that road. And so I've felt a little like a fish out of water within the group because of that. What I would do, what I told Tui that I might do is have a show here at Concord Art where I ask, sculptors are notoriously great draftsmen and draftswomen, and they create really good drawings and plans for the sculptures they're going to make. So I would ask a group of, 5 to 10 sculptors to create those. And I would give them, this is what the theme has to be. It would be a proposal for this spot in Concord, and they go to town. And so I would ask people who make beautiful big sculptures, and they're good artists. Because I don't feel like I could, I'm not an artist. I'm not going to make something up for the space, but I do have access to people who could. But I don't know if that's what we want. I don't,
Well, it totally fits
Mhm.
because it's engaging
Yeah.
community around what this could be.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and you,
it is. And it's the possibility, it's not a stele with words on it. No,
Yep.
it's something that's going to, you're going to encounter it, and it's going to make you feel a certain way.
Mhm.
And that's what the beauty is of it. So,
what I
yeah.
like about that, Kate, what you're not mentioning is that things you mentioned to me of the MFA, Museum of Fine Arts, has this show right now called The Power of People, Art and Democracy. And
That's right.
unfortunately, it's ending on the 16th. But
I can take you all to a tour of it. I was invited to one. We can all go together, and there are things in there that you need to see. I mean,
I would love
because
to do
people
that.
have been doing this for thousands of years. They did it in Rome, they did it in Greece. We're not the first ones creating
and then you
work
mentioned,
about freedom and democracy.
right.
So,
Then you mentioned Martin Puryear's
oh yeah.
big red, the Liberty caps, which were worn by freed slaves proudly. And he made
Well, and they started actually during the French Revolution. It was a red felt cap that you wore after you gained your freedom.
yeah.
And Martin Puryear, who's an African American sculptor, he's almost 90, but the drawing that they have in the Democracy Show that he did as a sort of plan for the sculpture he made. It's so beautiful. And the sculptures that he's made from that plan, have been ones made out of like mesh, like out of wire. So they have a sort of fence look to them, but also a Liberty cap. And the Liberty cap actually was used during the Revolution. It was put on the top of a
Pole.
flagpole with a Liberty flag.
Yeah, Liberty
So
Pole.
it's just so if you can find symbols and artwork that kind of brings the past, the present, the future all together, that's what I believe an artist
Yeah.
could do for us.
This kind of activity would definitely raise awareness, and it would
Yes.
definitely engage the community. Nancy?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, Kate, what you're talking about is what I wish had happened 2 or 3 years ago. That's what in my opinion, that's what I.
Oh, we're getting there
Not too late,
finally.
Nancy.
Oh, we can't cry over spilled milk.
Yeah.
Although we do, but we shouldn't.
We do. Right.
There's also, I thought
But
that
Nancy,
it
were
would
you
be very,
done? Keep going,
No.
Nancy. Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Um,
I was just going to also say that Daniel Chester French was the first president of Concord Art, and he actually had that role while he was creating the Lincoln Memorial. And so I feel there's a really nice connection to this organization where we could have a small show of his work and his process in doing the sculpture in Concord, and his role in Concord and living here,
the
whatever.
Concord Museum did that a couple of years ago. I mean, it's a great
Yeah.
idea.
With
They-
Monument Men, that author, yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, we would do it differently, perhaps.
Yeah.
But and then have contemporary sculptors, their plans and what they would do in that space. Why
Go ahead,
not?
Nancy.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
The reason I started by saying that's what I wish had happened, and I think I've thought this all along, that Concord is such a special place that if we had gone down that route, we could have gone national. We could have gotten not only local artists. It would be great to have a local artist, but it would be great to open it up and get preliminary ideas. I mean, Lexington had a competition, and I don't know how familiar you are with what happened there. I wasn't crazy about what the results of the submissions that they had. So you don't know what you're going to get, right? You could get something fantastic, you could 5 fantastic things. So I think that there's nothing to stop you. I think that that would be great.
Yeah.
I don't think
No,
that
yeah, and I don't have to do
Could
it
also
for you
be-
guys.
yeah,
There-
exactly. That's what my point, I think that's what my
Mhm.
main point was, to
Yeah.
do that. Is if something really special came out of that, you can have maquettes or drawings and ideas, but if something special came out of that, then there are other places that, a sculpture could go. So
Yeah. No,
So
no,
I-
I
Although
wouldn't,
that's my-
just
Polly,
say, it
Polly,
wouldn't be a competition. I just wanted you to know that.
that's fine.
Polly.
I mean, I hear you, Nancy, that you wish we had done this earlier, but I actually think sometimes ideas come along at the right time. And
Yeah.
sometimes you have to have done all the legwork to get to a point. And there is
Mm-hmm.
nothing, this is not going to be built, in case you were wondering, by April 19th, 2025. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to take a heck of a lot longer. And we want to get it right. So, what's 3 years? Come on. Like it's,
I agree.
Yeah.
It
I
took them 11 years to do the first one.
And
Ah,
I also
yeah.
just want to say, having done a lot of landscape design and having built a memorial, actually, you have to do a lot of work before you get to the final plan. I mean, just a lot. And we've done a lot of work. Sasaki has done a lot of work.
Mhm.
You have to deal with the site. If it's for a particular site, it needs to respond to that site. And
Yes.
anyway, so I don't feel like this, I don't want anyone, I would hate to feel that we've wasted time, and I don't believe we have wasted time at all. And I don't know where this is going, but
So,
anyway.
So it's making
It's an
meaning.
exciting
I think
idea.
when humans make meaning, it takes time.
yeah.
And we disagree and we get upset and we have fun, and all of it, to me, is how we make meaning. So
Mhm.
So
I
I have
make how a
to,
community make meaning, which is hard.
I have to go all mindful on everybody and say that I've really worked this past 5 years to not drag the past into my present and to not drag the future into my present, but to try to live today. And where we are in the Permanent Memorial Subcommittee right now with the people I see here, Joe and Krista, today is a good day. And I think what we're doing right now is good. And probably we couldn't have gotten here without the past 2 years. So today's a good day. And I think we've come up with some really interesting stuff. And 2 weeks ago, we weren't even talking about high school kids. We weren't talking, Kate, about this amazing possibility through Concord Art. We weren't, but we are today. So I think on that note, we should figure out next week we're meeting.
Before we get there, Tui, just for the notes, Polly, do you feel like you can capture Kate's idea and then in the minutes, do you need more detail just so we add it to the list of activities?
I can capture it kind of vaguely.
Oh, yeah.
It won't be terribly detailed, but I'm not sure it needs to
No,
be.
just an activity.
And you can
based
correct the
upon-
minutes if I get it wrong.
That's
That's
right.
great. Yeah. I don't
Sorry,
actually
Tui.
have a correct version, so I think it'll be interesting to see what you write.
Oh, dear.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Tui, sorry.
Well, so what I'm going to do is, since it's 4:59, I think we've really gotten to a good place here, and I think we've got some next steps going on. We know where we're going. We don't have to figure out our next meeting, which you always do with every other committee, because it's next Thursday. So that's a good thing. However,
At
I
5 o'clock, just right. We're going to meet at 5 o'clock, not 4 o'clock next week.
back at 5. I cannot be at next week's meeting, just for the record here.
Kate, Nancy, Polly, can you be there?
I'm just double checking, but I believe so.
As far as I know.
Okay,
So
good.
to
As long as we
Tui,
have
I
four,
think
we're
you
okay.
have Tui, you have to establish who you would like to run the next meeting.
Well,
If you,
Joe
if
and I are
oh, good. Okay.
co-conspirators or whatever you want to call us. So he can certainly do that. But
So
thank you.
we'll get the link for the next meeting in the next agenda.
Yeah,
It's-
it's the same one. Same
Okay,
one.
it's the same one. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same link. But there
Okay.
will be
He'll
another
put it in
agenda.
the agenda and all that. Yeah.
Right. I can do that. So so that's the 30th. And you guys all have a blast, I have no doubt. So on that note, is there anything else we need to do? I think that's really it. Let's adjourn and have a lovely week.